Welcome back to Game Does Play Games, where we play Battle Brothers while talking game design.
Battle Brothers.
This is by Overhyped Studio. Now, this is still in early access. It is in version 7.0.12. There it is. I can read. So when I first saw the graphics, I was like, all right. And then
yeah, like it looks pretty all right. Like it's painted.
It's in my wish list for a little while. And just I could kind of see it. Like every time I was like, what are the reviews? Overwhelmingly positive. Well, that's rare for an early access. And so I was like, fine, I'll give it a go. And then I played it a little bit and I was like, all right, this game is hard as hell. Maybe.
It's sort of a roguelike, is that right?
Yes. I mean, yes, there's a lot of random. But it's hard to actually describe it as a roguelike. You'll see what I mean when we start playing.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I have no idea what we're jumping into, which is why he's playing.
I played it kind of a lot at this point, and at this moment, it has completely just captivated me. I love this game, and as somebody posted on the reviews, the hype is real. So we're gonna go to a new campaign here. Now here's the thing. I think veteran is what it's supposed to be played on.
Provides a balanced
for
playing experience that can be quite challenging, recommended for veterans of the game or genre. So yeah, pretty standard, if anything.
It is super hard. When I first started playing, I was like, I'll just go straight into medium. I'm used to tactical games.
Yeah, dude, that's what. I mean, you and I have been playing games since we were 5 years old.
I was like, I'm not new to the genre of anything at this point. That being said, dear God, now that's why this is probably going to be a short series, because I don't anticipate us living for super long, even though I actually have experience, because in order to really experience the game for what it's worth, you kind of have to start on beginner, just so you can live long enough to see what's going on.
Well, okay, so then that's my question. Should we play on beginner so that we see more?
I don't know. See, on my beginner thing, I haven't died yet. I'm still going strong.
Oh, okay.
But veteran, it was just crushing. Now, as I said, since I've learned enough, I think we might be able to pull off veteran long enough to actually see things happen.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. I mean, we're kind of planning this one to be a short series anyway, which if you guys like this, we can absolutely come back and play more, especially as they do more builds since it's in early access, so...
Yeah, and I would like to, especially once it's fully released or when they have more updates.
You and I do probably... Out of everyone else on this show, you and I do a lot of the early access games, and those ones tend to be nice.
Right.
They tend to be the ones that are in highest demand, so people really want us to go back to Children of Morta, which I'm totally down for too. We just need to find time to do it.
Children of Morta. All right.
Their new update is pretty sick, actually. Good kind of sick.
Rachel's played it most of the time, and because she gets to, I'm like, oh, cool. I don't know, we're just gonna do this one.
Praise the sun.
Yeah. Alright, cool, let's do this. Alright, so this is a hex-based tactical game.
Okay.
It
has goblins.
I was posting about this on Twitter, and it was just this game, the systems encapsulate what they want the game to feel like perfectly. So there's a bit of text. It all went wrong. 2 days ago, the company hired to track down Hoggart the Weasel and his band of raiders, but it was them who found you. An ambush. Some joke about horses cut short by an arrow to the throat. Arrows shooting in from everywhere and nowhere. Men holler and scream a great volume before death. As the hail subsides, you draw your weapon with the rest of the men, only to collapse to your knee. An arrow has punctured your side. You shout in pain. A harried glance sees the men charge without you to make a valiant last stand. Met in force as steel clashes with steel. You meet eyes with the captain, a last nod before his throat is cut. You're left in command now of what few men remain. Trembling in pain, you lean on your sword, and with all your will you can muster, slowly rise again. To the end! And that's how our game starts.
With an arrow in your lung.
Yep.
Well, I'll be a leader for a little bit.
So that guy's dead. Cool.
Maybe that was the old commander.
That guy's dead. Ooh. All right, cool. So, these are the guys we're trying to kill, and these are us. Is this?
How do you tell? Is it based on which direction the characters are facing?
They're always facing the direction they're facing. So if they're facing right, they are on your side. If they're facing left, enemy side.
Which is a pretty intuitive way of doing it, though, because of the detail in the characters and the colors. Still, I imagine if there's a lot of characters on the field, it could get kind of difficult to tell who is on whose side.
Yeah, I thought that at first, and then
as you get into it, it just doesn't really become a problem.
Yeah,
that's pretty fair.
All right, you know what? We're going for Haggard the Weasel. He killed all of our people.
Yeah, screw that guy. He also has a weird haircut.
Haggard the Weasel. This is just a lot of weird. They go for a lot of like, boom, got him. Yeah, that was actually, I think I normally miss him, so I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, cool. Move back a little bit, and we'll be good here.
Yeah, as far as UI design goes, though, like, I kind of appreciate how they found a natural solution for avoiding the ugly interfaces of, like, this is the red team and this is the blue team.
Yes.
It's like,
not only that, but just the hexes in general tend to, they work out pretty well. Like, they're not perfect.
They kind of went minimal, not minimalist, but certainly more minimal than a lot of strategy games tend to, which I appreciate.
So, every person has their weapons equipped and all that jazz. We can just take a quick look here. So this is Oscar. He has an axe. 2 axes. One large-handed axe, actually.
Oh, it's the same one on the other side.
And instead of doing the left-hand, right-hand thing, they basically set it as like, I'm not going to take that off. They set it as like a, this is your sword hand and this is your shield hand.
Ah, okay.
And then, he has a background. Brooding at times and at times suicidal, it's no surprise that Oscar is frequently diving to battle with nothing more than a large two-hander. It is said that he once cleaved a warrior in two, leaving the trunk of its legs still standing. He'll use any weapon you give him, but Oscar has I cannot read proclivity? Thank you. Proclivity toward those that can be calamitous, ruin, and blah 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 blah. All right, so anyway, all three of these characters, all three of these characters have like a little, they all have backstory, which is kind of cool when you hire somebody. These characters have specifically what's like they're a companion.
Yes, I noticed that they have 12 slots for your party, so you can get a lot of people. Do you circulate people in and out a lot?
Oh my.
Because they all die.
Yes.
So this is not the kind of game where your starting party is like the ones that carry you through. It's kind of Darkest Dungeon-esque where just they all die at some point.
Well, yes. In my easy run-through, I still have all three of my original members, but that's because I've learned to put them in a backline because I value them very much. And because of that, not because they're necessarily the greatest thing in the world, but because they have survived as long as they have. Now, so I put them in the back in a general-esque position.
Emotional and personal stakes in them. That's how I did when I play XCOM. That's how this game works. Exactly. It falls a lot in XCOM. So let's play. All right, so he has a couple moves with his axe. He can either use Split Man, which can hit the head and the body. Just goes in line
swing,
with his
which
background.
hits everybody around him. And those are axe maneuvers. Every weapon type has their own maneuvers, and they all have a minimum of 2 different actions you could do with them.
Okay, so it's not based on the character; it's based on the weapon.
Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Unfortunately, I missed. No surprise, honestly. So we're gonna go here, and I'm gonna use. So he has a shield. He has thrust, which is like just a kind of has a 20% chance to hit, which is fantastic, but does weak damage. Spear wall is like if they ever come within range of you, you can hit them back. Got knockback, which just pushes them back space, and then of course shield wall, which increases my defenses. I'm gonna do that because there's a good chance I can get hit by both these guys.
So the spear wielder is more battlefield control focused.
Oh my god. Okay, he almost died.
Wow.
All right. And so welcome to Battle Brothers, where I'm actually happy he lived through that. So our archer guy can't use range when he's in melee. So I'll switch to this knife here.
And it costs, 4 actions to change your weapon?
4 action points out of my 9.
Do they say that before you change your weapon?
It's somewhere. I did actually... I read it somewhere.
Crossbow, maybe?
Yeah, equip item for
okay. Oh, okay, so there might be items that cost more or less AP depending on what it is.
So far I haven't seen that, because I figured like knives would be the perfect idea. You could just pick it out real quick, but it costs the same amount, although there is a perk that makes it free.
Oh.
But perks are amazing. So we have choice of basically attack or puncture. Now every move also costs fatigue. So he has a 95 fatigue. It's right under this orange bar here, right here. And
so
here,
when it's full, he's
when
fatigued.
it's full, he can't. You just can't do anything. The longer the fight lasts, the more tired you are and useless you are.
So they're actually using fatigue correctly.
Yeah.
It's a little counterintuitive because everything else seems to kind of deplete over time in the UI. But I respect the choice of actually using the word correctly.
Oh yeah. All right.
Man, they look gruesome as they take damage.
Oh, it's terrible. Look at this guy. So here's the thing. If I try to move away from him, he gets an attack of opportunity on me. So I don't want to die for nothing. So I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to stab this guy. Good, I finished him off.
Nice. Yeah, so if you had backed off, he basically would have just killed that guy.
Yes.
And then you would have died for nothing.
Mm-hmm. So you may have missed it, but Hoggart the Weasel, or whatever his name is, he's over here now. Oh my god, don't die.
Oh, he escaped.
He escaped.
Oh, I was wondering about that. I was like, wow, you killed him quick?
If I can get that puncture off. God damn, alright, fine, whatever. I'll just stab him. Aha, okay.
So some weapons you can attack more than once, so
every attack generally costs 4 to 6 AP, depending on the weapon. Big ones like this one cost 6.
Okay.
Most other ones cost 4 AP, so if you're already in melee, when your turn starts, you'll be able to get 2 attacks off.
Do they have a lot of other actions that you can perform that help you consume all of your AP for each character?
No, but just some things cost a ridiculous amount. This one, Round Swing, which hits everybody around me. Obviously, I don't want to do that right now with 2 of my allies, but it costs 35 fatigue, and that would, I mean, like, after doing that 2 rounds, you would be done. Got him. All right. See if I can finish him off with my spear. So there's also a couple different health bars. When you hover over them, you get to look at it. I have an 88% chance of hitting him because this guy's baller. And it tells you what aids in that. So, right, thrust is the specific maneuver, gives a higher chance of hitting. He's surrounded, so I have another higher chance to hit. Below turn done, you'll see, I can't move my cursor. You'll see like a little helmet symbol, a chest symbol. That's his armor. So when you do damage the armor first, but some damage still goes through the armor and hits the person.
Okay, and then there's actual health, like
and there's actual
vitality, but it also looks like there's like courage.
Yeah, there's your morale. So every time somebody dies or gets hit, morale can raise or drop. There's
That's
fatigue.
cool.
He's at catching breath right now, which means by next turn, if for some reason this fight's not over, he could end up being full on fatigue. And he has suffered some damage. He has a deep abdominal cut, which I don't remember the negatives for that one, but are pretty bad. Double grip means he has a one-handed weapon and he's using 2 hands, and wavering means pretty soon he's going to try to flee for his life.
Yeah, a UI thing. It's almost disappointing that you can't like click on him and get this menu to just stay up.
Yeah.
So that you can hover over those status afflictions and actually see what they do. I mean, at a certain point, like, how much detail does the player really need in order to, like, fight these fights? It's not like Civ 6 where...
You need many resources that you're paying attention to.
Yeah, you could play Civ 6 and not really look at everything, or play like Nathan and look at every minute detail before he finishes his round and makes you wait 15 minutes.
Yeah, but I win. So.
I mean, that's fair.
No loot? Come on, game.
Weak.
All right, that was weird. All right.
So
anyway.
you loot all bodies at once in the victory?
Yeah, I guess since it's the first fight, there's not going to be any loot, so I'm not really surprised there. Okay, cool. So now we're on to the world map, and we've gotten past the first fight, and the moment I hit spacebar and unpause it, I'm going to get... thing. You're alive. You won. The adrenaline fades, and in its wake, you can't help but sink back to the ground. It looks like you won't be holding a sword again anytime soon. Gritting your teeth, you snap the arrow's shaft. Your chest heaves for breath, feeling the pain well up in your very lungs. Most of the companions lie dead, all those men who fought with you side by side in a shield wall this past year, and Hoggart did justice to his name, running like the weasel that people mock him to be. What now? A voice says from behind. It's Oscar, who sits down beside you, bedding his bloodied axe on his legs. You turn to him to reply, but before you can answer, he continues. The captain's dead. They slit his throat. He was a good man and a damn good leader, but all it took was one mistake. That makes you the one in charge now, doesn't it? Wolf joins the two of you, still breathing heavily. Let's save the anointments for another day. I figured we could give the man a good burial and return to Crumhorn to collect our pay. The weasel's men are slain after all, and even if the man himself tucked away and ran, and we ought to see to that arrow sticking into you before we lose another man.
So does the dialogue, or does these change based on who survives the battles?
Yes, and it's great. All these men their names are different every time. Sometimes they have titles to their name.
Oh,
you can title your people, or give them a handle or whatever you want. So there's that. The dialogue will change in missions. The people who are involved will change. Generally, if these people stay around, they're the ones that usually talk to you. However, if they die, then they just replace it with somebody else that's in your caravan.
So it's kind of like building up a relationship with them. They're the ones that have been around the longest, so they're going to have the closest relationship with you.
So I'm going to pause again. There are some characters that was just like, there was one discussion, he was like, oh, we've got to find more supplies. And you go, oh yeah, great idea. And then after he leaves in the dialogue, it's like, you already had planned this out weeks in advance, but he's new to the party, and you felt like you would give him a boost. And it was true. He had only joined me like last mission. So it was like, you kept track of that. That's awesome.
So you are one of those 3 characters, correct?
I am not. So you are this. This is our avatar
the
through dialogue.
Omnipotent.
Yes.
Or omnipresent, I mean.
So you click on it and
That's
you'll
smart,
travel.
though, because if you as the player could die, then it would just be game over. Suddenly, it's a game that's a permanent escort mission.
Games that always had a tour when your character falls in combat, it's game over, like, kind of drove me nuts because it just kind of feels counterintuitive sometimes.
That or, like, they die but never really die, and they're just, like, wounded. It's like, how do you have so much plot armor.
You should be dead compared to everybody else. So what a star display it must be for the onlookers as you arrive in Crumhorn. 4 bloodied and beaten mercenaries down on their luck. The man who hired the company days ago, Gunnar of Crumhorn, no doubt expected you to return in more glorious fashion. Still, he welcomes you to his house again and offers bread and wine while a servant fetches a healer. Few words are exchanged except for the occasional grunt and wheeze of an elderly man with shaken hands tends to your wound. Finally, Gunnar of Crumhorn breaks the silence. So, how did you fare? A pin knifes through your skin, the first of many stitches to come. You grit your teeth till you think you can hear one break. Gunnar of Crumhorn takes one grave look and quickly hides his face behind a drink of wine. Finding breath, you give answer to his asinine question. We killed all of Hargard's men, but he managed to elude our blades in the end. The healer waves around a glowing fire poke, suggesting he wants to put it into your wound. You nod, and he does so. For a moment, that's all there is. You're not a man, but a pinch of fire, flesh of flame. As the pain subsides, you come to see Gunnar of Crumhorn's mood has lightened. So all of his men are dead then. Well, that's that, I see. A good thing you removed that threat from Crumhorn, but that man is truly elusive. We'll expect to pay for this. Whew. More reading in this first part than most of the game, just so you know. Well, naturally, I gave my word, didn't I? 100 crowns for every man, so I see it, that's 400 crowns for the 4 of you. He gestures toward his servant, who nods and hands him the wooden chest from which to take the pay. I wondered, may I make use of your service one more time? I'd very much appreciate to end this headache that Hogarth the Weasel once and for all. I would pay you again, of course, another 400 crowns, should we say? Oscar scoffs and turns to drink more wine, but Wolf stands to speak. Yes, the company is in ruin, but we can rebuild it. You know, Oscar, he'd drink the crowns away and end up begging on the streets. And Eek, I
think.
Eek wouldn't fare any better chasing the woman folk until one stove his rotted head in. We need the Affinity brothers. It's all we have. What say you, Captain? Oscar burps and raises his cup to you. Eek playfully thumbs his nose and nods. You're the captain now, and your men look to you for leadership. So, we have 2 options. Yes, we finish the business with Hoggart, or no, we'll find our fortune elsewhere. All it does is determine what your next quest is.
Oh, okay.
So if I had said no, then I would just forget everything and then just start anew. And I guess the advantage of this, if you've played the game a lot, you could just say, no, we're just get past this part of the game. But we're going to go after him. So, basically, more reading.
Very good. Excellent.
Thank you.
I'll need some time to figure out where Hogarth is hiding his hide now. In the meantime, I suggest you see about stocking up on supplies so that you'll be good and ready to end this when the time comes. I shall see you in a few days. Time at the latest. As you leave the comforts of Gunnar of Crumhorn's house and stand on the outskirts of Crumhorn again, Wolf seeks a word with you. What it is we need is more men, Captain. I know I gave a big speech back there, but we ain't nothing without more warm bodies in the ranks. We should hire at least 3 more sword hands, buy them some decent weapons, and dress them in the best armor we can afford. The man pauses to glance around. I bet this Bodunk town's got a desperate peasant or two looking for a new life. Or we could travel to Harkendock in the northeast. Them city folk aren't always as hardy as these country bumpkins, but we're more likely to find men with fighting experience stopping to rest there, and they'll sell better weapons too.
That's what we shall do. Cool.
You know, it's not so difficult to read it when you're reading it in your head, but like this game especially, their word choices are like they're a little hard to vocalize.
And I think it works because it kind of fits with the time.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, I don't judge it in any means. It's just like, oh my god.
No, it's
Crumhorn?
It's well themed. Even like in how they like write the actions of what your characters are doing, it feels appropriate.
It does. It's like before she stows his rotted head in, and you just immediately get this vision of what this man is, who's probably just like, like half his teeth are gone. But we'll talk more about Demon in the next episode, because that's incredibly important. I think one reason this game is currently successful and going to be incredibly successful in the future. Question of the day. There's a lot of dialogue.
I think we could ask about the UI. I know that we haven't explored a ton of what the game mechanics are, but what do you guys think about the kind of more minimal UI as far as a strategy game is concerned, right? Because they kind of focus on making it look pretty rather than giving the player more information. The information is there, it's just...
It's hidden. You have to look for it.
Yeah.
Scrolling over things. So basically, we're talking about there's no like numbers on the side of the screen and things are flashing everywhere. It's like you want to find something, you got to go look for it. Otherwise, you can just play the game.
So from a UI design perspective, what are the benefits of taking their approach for that?
Cool. Well, answer that. Be sure to vote above. And we're going to keep this going for a little bit longer. But if you want to keep it longer than that, make sure to keep voting for it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Till next time, guys.
Bye, everyone.